So you're getting into gouache, you've gotten your paint, and you're ready to start painting, but you're not sure what brushes or paper you're supposed to use. Well, fear not, I got you. My name is Daya, everybody, and I love using gouache. It is the only thing I use at this point. So, to help you out a little bit, I'm gonna give you a couple tips about what you can use to paint gouache with. So, let's get right into it. Here I have 6 different types of brushes. Now, they're all watercolor brushes. With gouache, the answer is simple about what brushes to use. Watercolor brushes work best. Doesn't matter what kind, what shape, watercolor brushes work best for gouache. Now, the type of effect or finish you're trying to get when you're painting determines what type of watercolor brush you're using. So, here I have 6 different types of brushes, and we're gonna go through what they each do and how they look when you use them. First, we'll start with the simplest one. This is a round brush. They're usually characterized by a straight body and a pointed tip. Now, when I soak this in water, that's gonna become a lot more clear. As you can see, the point got even sharper. So round brushes allow you a lot of versatility, which is why a lot of people use them to paint with. So let's take a little bit of green today. Since we're wearing green, I guess I'm gonna match. Put my paintbrush into it. As you can see, I've gotten a pretty decent amount on the brush. And so I have a couple of different ways that I can use it. So I can either make precise lines like this. I can spread out the brush by putting more pressure on it and pulling down, which creates a wider stroke, and I can do both. This is what this brush allows you to do. It allows you precision when you want it and coverage when you want it as well. That versatility is the main reason people use them so much. Also, they tend to hold a lot of water in paint, so that allows you to use the same brush for an extended period of time and to cover large areas with. This particular brush is from an artist named Paulina Bright. She does a bunch of watercolor work that I love. Her brushes are all synthetic and I bought the whole set. However, they are a bit pricey for anybody just trying to dip their toe into gouache. So you have a lot of different options from that. You can literally go to Michael's and just buy the cheapest watercolor brush they have there, and that'll get you started. You can work your way up as you get better or more comfortable with gouache. So that's the round brush, and they come in different sizes and shapes as well. Next on this list is a mop brush. Mop brushes are great for covering large areas of the paper. So I'm gonna dip into some water. As you can see, it holds a whole lot. And we're gonna dip it into some more of gouache. And let me just show you how much coverage I can get. See what I mean? That whole area has been covered by this one brush. And it applies very smoothly as well. That's what I like about this. I typically use this brush for backgrounds and stuff like that, or really large areas I want to cover. Also, you can use the top of it like this for little streaks and strokes of sorts, but its main purpose is to fill large areas with paint. Next on the list is a flat brush. I don't really use many of these, but they're good if you want sharp angles and straight lines. If you want sharp edges as well, you can use this brush for this. You can use the edge of it for thin lines here, or the corner of it like this, or you can flatten it out for more coverage. And when you flatten it out, you can actually make it wider than the actual width of the brush. As you see, it got skinnier up here, but thicker as I press down on the brush more. That's just a rule of thumb with most brushes, to be honest. But it's not my brush of choice. I know a lot of people do when they want kind of blocky shadows and sharp edges and stuff like that. So it is something to keep in mind if that's something you're looking for. Next, we have my absolute favorite brush. Now, what's so funny about this is that I spent all this money on these brushes that work great. They're amazing. But the thing is, I hate actually blending, so I typically use this brush to get texture and actually blend things out by dabbing it on the paper. I'll show you. I think what makes me so mad about this most is the fact that it came in my Heaney gouache set, and I don't even use the gouache, but I use the brush relentlessly now, and it wasn't even a part of the cost, so it's just like, it's aggravating. But anyway, this is a filbert head, by the way. So with the filbert head, it works kind of similarly to the flat brush, except for with a bit of a curve to its overall brush stroke. Now, my favorite way to use it is like this. I love using it to add texture. It makes the application of paint have different values. So as you can see, when you get closer, it's light and dark in specific areas and like that. And I typically love using that to blend colors together because I suck at blending. You can see it a bit here, the texture that it gives. I love giving texture in my paintings and stuff like that. So this brush just allows me to do it super easily. But filbert heads also could be good for round contours and edges that you're trying to color within, so keep that in mind as well. Next up, we have a fan brush. I've never really felt a need to use this. It kind of has more of a specific purpose. It's not really built like a traditional brush is. As you can see, when you wet it, it actually kind of spreads out. So if you're looking for texture, this is what it's good for, but I don't really ever use it. So you're really not gonna get a consistent brush stroke out of this, but if this is your fancy, then I mean, like, you know, go off. Also, people like to use it for trees and other things like that, which, as you can see, it does a pretty good job. However, this is really not my favorite brush at all. If you get creative though, you can use it for some cool effects of sorts, so don't sleep on it. It is useful. The last brush I have here is called a hake or hockey brush, depending on how you pronounce it. This brush is typically used to fill large areas of paint, more so than the mop brush does. So let me show you just how well this works. This one in particular is made of goat hair. Typically, most of my brushes are synthetic just because I don't like paying natural hair prices. However, it has its uses. So let me show you just how well this works. As you can see, it holds a lot of water, and I've just filled in the bottom quadrant of this paper super easily. This is great for washes as well, so if you want to add like a specific tint to a background, this is your brush for that. It does the job super easily and quickly. Not saying you can't do it with the mop brush, however, it would just take a bit longer and it won't get the same effect as the hake brush will. Quick extra fact, sometimes mop brushes can look similar to round brushes, but as you can see, they both look very different from each other. The belly of it is a lot shorter and it's a bit wider generally, so keep an eye out for that. Here's a quick close-up of all the different paintbrush applications. So now that you're a little bit more familiar with brushes that are used for gouache and which ones do what and which ones you might want to use and try out, now we're going to start talking about paper. Now they don't really make watercolor canvases. I've tried some, but they just don't work that well. They don't have the same absorption as paper does. My favorite paper to use is the Canson sketchbook here. You can see this was absolutely used. This is the largest one I own, but you can see that it's actually a watercolor sketchbook. This one's 12 by 18, but you can get it in any size you want to. You might actually want to start off smaller so that you can get more comfortable with medium and not feel like you're doing a huge piece or feel the pressure of making a huge piece. The weight of this paper is 140 pounds or 300 grams, and that's pretty much a good thickness for the paper. You can see that the paper has a little fight to it. It's not just copy paper. Also, this paper is cold pressed, which basically means that it has a bit of texture to it. You may not be able to see it from here, but it has a bit of texture to it. Hot pressed paper, on the other hand, is super smooth. I typically like to have my paper have a little texture to it just so I feel like the paint sticks a little better to it. However, hot pressed paper works as well. So I would try both out to get comfortable with both of them. Canson is a really good starter brand because its prices are reasonable. You can also use sketchbook brands like Strathmore, which run you a little bit more and have less pages per sketchbook, but the quality of the paper is much better. Also, some people don't even use sketchbook paper at all. They use loose paper, which you can buy in stores. I particularly don't really favor doing that because that paper is a lot more expensive, and if you're just not trying out gouache, then it wouldn't do you well to buy super expensive paper to start trying gouache on. However, as you get better and make better pieces, you're gonna want better quality items. It makes a difference, trust me. Well, that's all I have today on brushes and paper. If you have any questions, my comment section is open. I hope this helped you to get into gouache. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!